Just a kind of a short, at least walkthrough or show and tell of what we've done at Winnebago Industries, because we are technically a large Microsoft environment with a lot of different systems, Microsoft 365, Power Platform, and Dynamics 365. So to jump right in, Winnebago Industries, again, a US-based company, make a lot of different motorhomes, travel trailers, outdoor boating equipment, pontoons, etc. So again, just a splash screen here of all the different product divisions that we have today. And to jump right in, so defining the problem. So where we've been coming from is, again, we're a large manufacturing organization, and we're currently on a journey to implement Dynamics 365 finance and operations as the core ERP system. That being said, not every ERP system can do everything that your company does today. So that's where the term fit the gaps comes in. And the challenge that was presented about a year ago was there was a new business process requirement of being able to do some type of real-time labeling when a certain event would happen within our production facilities. Good or bad, the unfortunate part was many people had told our team or our business analysts that it could not be done. And luck and circumstance, I guess, I happened to then step into number 3 on the list here, or the third item. We're getting involved with another Microsoft ISV called RF Smart, which is more of a warehouse management system for doing things through a handheld. Again, all Microsoft technology, but to be able to do inventory transactions or production transactions. And it happened to be that they had certain capabilities. So again, looking at defining the problem here is, how do we approach it? Again, many years ago, the term used to be you build it or you buy it or you host it. And now with everything either being on-prem or online in the cloud, we've got different options and choices. In addition, if you look at the 5th bullet, there's other options that we could have custom developed something. We could have written something in C#, or we could have used the native language of Dynamics 365, which is X++. So the challenge was, we've got all these different tools available to us. Which one would be the best? So moving to the next slide, the solution approach was, well, can we leverage what Power Platform could provide us in order to connect all these different disparate systems? Again, Dynamics 365 F&O is our ERP system that sits in the cloud. And then we also have the RF Smart, that's an on-premise system. So that sits in on-premise servers that we run in-house. So again, the goal was, we have these lightweight requirements. They're asking for a lot of things that haven't been done before. So to go to a quick visual, and then I can actually show and at least demonstrate a little bit at a lightweight what it looks like. Again, if you can follow from the left, going to the right, down, and then back to the left again, essentially what it is Dynamics 365 has a capability called business events. So what happens when in the warehouse module, they have something called a pick put event. So when somebody does something on the production floor, it generates a signal. That signal we're then picking up as a trigger inside of Power Automate Cloud Flows. So it watches for that data, and then it proceeds to the next steps of, okay, well, I need additional data about what it is, because we need to gather information, either looking at some potential logic of saying, well, we've got 12 different manufacturing plants within our whole organization. One focuses on metals, another focuses on sewing, or they call it stitchcraft. Another focuses on building cabinets. We call that sawmill. Everybody does something different. So the flexibility that we had with Power Automate was, instead of hard coding something and then being stuck with it, we've got the ability to kind of flex and move around with Power Automate. So inside of here, we've got a number of different connectors where we go and query inside of Dynamics 365. We run through a number of different, case switch, what kind of logic. And in fact, there's certain plants that have certain production steps that need to happen. So we need to read data differently from every area. So it keeps flowing downstream. Then the next piece is we pulled in Dataverse, because then some people are saying, well, we've got over 90 label printers. Again, different facilities have them. So the goal was, well, how can we look up that information efficiently? People in their heads say, well, I know I want to print at printer A or printer C based on this rule or this logic. But again, we prototyped it and built it lightweight inside of Power Automate. And then, because RF Smart, which is this component here, is on premise, we're leveraging the on-premise data gateway, because it allows you to make calls via API from the cloud to on-premise. And luck and circumstance, RF Smart, they have a capability called Print Suite Bridge. Again, this is a Microsoft ISV. So we built a custom connector that then sends a very lightweight JSON payload from Power Automate to that. It then grabs the necessary nice label. Again, it does a proper lookup into a Dataverse table to make sure, well, if it's this plant and it's this production item or it's this step in a route, this is the printer we want it to go to. And then likewise, everything then flows downstream into our different Zebra printers. So if I can flip screens here real quick, I'll just give a show. So again, I'm sharing a screen from Dynamics 365. Again, Dynamics 365 is a very large, I'll call it ERP platform. So this is just the splash screen of the home screen. But where I'm going within all these capabilities that we have here, if I go into System Administration, there's a capability called Business Events. And these are the triggers or events that happen inside this ERP system. And again, you can see a number of them exist off the shelf or out of the box. We actually had to build one. So that's, again, writing X++ code with all the different Microsoft Visual Studio capabilities we have. And based on doing that, it provides a certain structure to say, well, what type of event are you looking for? And what type of data do you need? We then pass that information over into a Power Automate flow. So let me go back to a tab here just to show you. Here we go. So this is the trigger step that is included by Microsoft out of the box for Power Automate Cloudflow. It's called when a business event occurs. Essentially, you're selecting the instance of the ERP platform. Again, production, development, test QA, UAT. You select your category, which aligns in our case to inventory management. What business event are you looking for? We built one called Pick Put, and then you define the legal entity that it's for. So in turn, what happens then is that single event or that trigger can then cause a number of downstream actions. And then again, just here's a prototype one. This is not the one that's in production. We've built some separate ones on the side, but just to give you some context, again, I'm just zooming out here to what it looks like is when the system actually starts, it runs through, grabs additional data from Dynamics, uses all the built-in native capability of processing through Power Automate, but then we branch off based on which production vertical that event occurred in. And as you can see here, again, not zooming into the details, each vertical has a different vertical swim lane of what logic they want to consume. And what's interesting to note here, when we started this about a year ago, is there were probably only 3 verticals in here with a set of 2 simple steps. Grab the data from Dynamics 365 and then print a label. Since then, it's evolved into this very large structure because there's been different changes, new requirements, etc. So one of the great things we like to say about the Power Automate platform is, well, what is it you're wanting to do and how do you want to do it? And we can accommodate. Now, the reality is the volume of this has exceeded what the original requirement was. So just to give you a snapshot of what it looks like, here is the telemetry in the last couple of weeks. And you can see on a daily basis, the number is extremely high. So when we started this, we were probably running about 6,000 or 7,000 flows a day. But now that we've added additional plants into this large ERP program, the volume has considerably skyrocketed. So we've got to be careful there. So again, if I flip back over to the screen here, you can see that there's a number of different connectors, and I'll zoom in just to let me get here and let me zoom in. Okay. There we go. If I move down towards the lower section here, whoops, I moved to the lower section here. It is right here where we have a custom connector that's actually calling out to the on-premise service from RF Smart, and we're able to send, again, a very lightweight JSON payload to them that then sends that labeling to the printer. So again, it's the flexibility that we've been offered from the Power Platform has been incredible. So if I go back to my slide deck here, let me go to my next slide. In terms of a summary of learnings, because I want to watch the clock very carefully. So development, it's been great for an iterative nature. Very good for quick prototyping and validation. Like I said, the requirements kept changing, so we didn't have to write code, release it through a number of different build processes. And again, it's visual in nature, so when people could look at the Cloudflow, again, we've got manufacturing engineers assigned in each vertical. It was great for them to help see and understand how this actually worked. But some of the learnings we had was most important with licensing. So as you saw before with the large telemetry, we had some issues of either capacity or throttling because Dynamics 365 includes some levels of Power Platform entitlements specific to cloud flows. But what we had found is there's different levels of performance and throughput. So we actually went ahead and purchased either the individual plans for a process plan, assigned it to it. We've even experimented with Azure Pay as you go. And the interesting thing is, even though it's currently in preview and it's not a cost, and considering our volume is high, the throughput and the performance has been fantastic. So again, we've got to carefully monitor this. So from a monitoring standpoint, we take advantage of the user interface in the portal, which we saw before the telemetry. We've also been running, again, I'd highly recommend take a look at the Azure Application Insights preview if you're using Power Automate. It's a little bit after the fact, but it gathers a lot of telemetry inside of Azure, and I believe I've got that tab here. So again, a very simple visual. It feels near real time to me, but it's always after the fact. So what we're actually doing for some better performance monitoring is the last bullet that you see here. The Microsoft 365 command line interface does have a capability where you can actually run queries to see, well, what Power Automate cloud flows are currently running. So we've had some instances where they've been running very long, too long, and that usually indicates there's something wrong with some API endpoint we need to take advantage of or take a look at. So that's more of a TBD in the future. And last but not least, again, there's some new capabilities coming out in Dynamics that could eliminate this cloud flow. So again, that rapid iteration prototyping has been helpful for us. The other goal is to actually separate out that large flow that you saw and break it into each vertical. So each manufacturing engineer, he or she has ownership. We're even looking at potentially, should we migrate this up to logic apps, again, for scalability, better cost, better management, better monitoring, and then just adding in some basics of better error handling and improving our ALM process of moving it through the environments. And so in a summary, that's really where we looked at Power Platform or Power Automate helping fit the gaps with our Dynamics 365 implementation. And in the last section, other departments have learned of this. And so we're taking advantage of other Power Automate capabilities, whether it's with Power BI or using adaptive cards to give a different user interface to production planners to do different activities they do on a daily basis. So that is the end. And I will go ahead and go to mute and stop sharing. So thank you.